Thank you for joining. Thank you so much for joining our second of 3 sessions on the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. And we are going to engage in this practice as if we're in our practice mode doing this practice, like that. So thank you so much for joining. Let's take a moment to get in touch with our motivation for being here this evening. And if we can think of Lama Tsongkhapa in the space in front of us, a few feet in front of us, slightly higher than the level of your head, on a radiant jeweled throne. And if you're in the room, you can see the Lama Tsongkhapa, second from the left, with his 2 disciples kind of at knee levels of both of his knees. The older disciple, the younger disciple, he wears the yellow hat. You can just visualize him as a radiant crystal being draped in his robes, seated in the Vajra position on this throne, facing us. Just as much as you can imagine, he's really there. If you like, at his heart, imagine Shakyamuni Buddha. And if you'd like, at the Buddha's heart, you can imagine different deities, if you like, you feel connected. Perhaps the primordial Buddha Vajradhara, dark blue in color. But he's really inseparable from the deity that Lama Tsongkhapa got all of his teachings from, Manjushri, got many teachings from Manjushri, the Buddha of infinite wisdom. If you're in the room, he's behind me on the tanka, behind me. Sorry, it's not showing on the screen because I can't get rid of that screen, my background. It doesn't work. But most people are familiar with Manjushri holding the sword that slashes delusion. And imagine that these beings, whether you visualize Vajradhara, Manjushri, or another deity, are inseparable from your own guru, your spiritual teacher, your virtuous friend. If you're not sure who that person is, just think they're inseparable from the Buddha. So the deity, the Buddha, Lama Tsongkhapa, all of them are one. Just getting a sense that they're really there. And think about your motivation right now. And the last week, the last few sessions of different courses I've been teaching, we've been talking about freedom and what it means to be ultimately free, completely unfettered from any worry, from even any minute problem, ever again for all lifetimes you have, if you have a Buddha mind, if you've attained enlightenment and have an omniscient consciousness. Just imagine that space of mind. It's inconceivable. Your mind is blissful every moment. And directed towards helping all living beings, benefiting all sentient beings. If you feel that alignment in your heart, or just thinking about that motivation, feel free to include that in your own motivation right now. Take a moment, directing your energy in that way, set a motivation for our time together and the activities, all the activities of the rest of your day. I just want to bring up Lama Tsongkhapa and his two disciples. You can see on the screen. And you can see his implements. So if you see the lotuses on his, like to his left and right ears at that level, to his left is a text. To his right is a Vajra. So the Vajra is kind of indestructible wisdom. It's the bottom is a Vajra. It's a handle of a sword. The sword goes up. So swords and texts are all the different things we visualize as we visualize the different wisdoms that I'm going to speak about tonight. Okay, so those are his implements, very related to that. So it's all about slashing delusion, the sword, one of Manjushri's implements, the main one, and then wisdom, the text. Especially texts like the Prajnaparamita, the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. And he's holding the stem of these lotus flowers. And here's the two disciples. So this one towards his right is supposed to be the older disciple. He doesn't look as old, but he's very gentle, older one. Often you see him with gray eyebrows to designate, or white eyebrows. And the one to his left is a little bit more wrathful looking, younger disciple. Gyaltsab, the older one, and Kadrup, the younger one. So the story I was telling you today about the Sojong, the monks and nuns thing, was that Lama was the reincarnation of, I believe, the older disciple. That's why it's amazing. I met him in India, this reincarnation. Okay, so let's go back and we'll start our practice. And like all the practices, refuge and bodhicitta. So here we have, again, Lama Tsongkhapa in the space in front. The standard 4-line refuge prayer. Many of our practices start with that, but you really want to have a sense of the words you're saying. Do you have refuge in your heart with these deities, concepts, manifestations of the Buddha? So what we're looking for with refuge is what will free us from more suffering. And could these beings who seem to be on a path completely free, and their minds completely, fully manifest of every good quality. They seem to appear that way. The teachings we read from Lama Tsongkhapa seem to indicate a high level of realization and freedom, a genius, an incredible inspiration of all of the practices he was able to do. So we talk about Nundro practice. Some people are familiar with prostrations, full-length prostrations. Just to give you an idea. So we have a purification practice to do full-length prostrations called, many of you are familiar, the prostrations to the 35 confession Buddhas. Okay, so it's a fantastic practice. You can learn how to do prostrations. Some of you already know. You can memorize that little prayer, that text, and do prostrations. So the normal Nundro people do is 100,000 full-length prostrations. Could be done with that prayer, could be done with some other prayers. Sometimes we do it with Vajrasattva, sometimes we do it with refuge prayer. Okay. And if you're doing it full time, there's people that go every winter this season to Bodh Gaya, India. And when you walk around the stupa, they're a very large stupa, walk around, and people have all these prostration boards around, and there's hundreds of people doing prostrations. So the people that come there to do it full time, they want to complete that Nundro, that preliminary practice. Okay? And it takes most people about 2 to 3 months to do 100,000 prostrations full time. So you just do a few hours a day. You count them, and it's a very warm community. Everybody's supporting each other, and everybody has different obstacles, and everybody's arrived at a different time. There's Tibetans, there's people from all over the world doing it. Okay? Tibetan monks, Tibetan nuns, lay people. It's so inspiring, if that's something. And what's helpful is everybody helps each other. So people come with their thermoses of tea, bottles of water. They have extra prostration mats and boards and things, and people get tired, and some people get sick at times, and people have cold medicine, and it's beautiful. Everybody's trying to help everybody do this Nundro because it's so powerful for your mind. Okay. So a lot of us in our culture, we say, I'm not doing 100,000 prostrations. I have no interest. Why would I want to do that? But it's, again, if certain merit comes into your mind, certain level of purification, some faith, maybe guidance from a teacher, and you start to engage. And it's very, very powerful. I find it very moving. Actually, I've spent some winters in Bodh Gaya doing practices that. So when I say 100,000, so Lama Tsongkhapa did something like, I don't know, 3 million prostrations, just to give you an idea of who he was, who this person is. So we say, well, that's extraordinary. And also, if you rejoice at his prostrations, you get some of that merit. Okay. But it's also way over the top for Westerners, for people from our culture. So you have to think about it. You say, well, that's not something you can do. Okay. And I can't remember, maybe it was 1 million or something like that. Okay. So I know a woman in California. I know a woman that lives in California. She's done 1 million prostrations. She's a lay woman. She takes care of her aging mother. She takes care of a Gompa she lives near in Southern California. She takes care of the main teacher that lives there, who's amazing, one of my teachers. And she's done at least like 1 million prostrations. She just set her mind to it, talked to her teacher. She said, I just feel this is what I want to do. He said, great. And she's just chipped away every year doing a number of them. So anything's possible. Anything's possible. Right? It's really extraordinary.
I want to ask it now so I don't forget. What happens if you have the intent and you have the heartfelt wish to do prostrations and you're older and your knees and your back won't allow you to get down on the floor and get up again? So,
Yeah, great question. What happens, for those of you online, if you're older and your body won't support you doing prostration? So you can do them with visualization and sit in a chair and do them. You could stand for part of it too. Just stand in place and visualize yourself. Because the thing with prostrations, what's very important is the visualization, that you're as huge as possible, that there are infinite forms of you, infinite replicas of you making full length prostrations, that you're in a very high place so that atoms of your body go down covering to sea level. So they say it's better to make prostrations at Laudo, very high place, as opposed to, and you can visualize. So I've done Nungne practices and led Nungnes, these fasting retreats to Chenrezig. One time somebody came who was in a wheelchair, couldn't make prostrations at all with their body, and they sat in the chair during the prostration segments. So again, they may have gotten much more merit and purified more if they had great visualizations and great faith, great motivation. That's really the key. So you can still certainly do and read the prayer, read the name. If you read the names of the Buddha, that's kind of the magic of the practice. It's almost like the prostrations are an extra tip, but the names, and so if you look at the prostration booklet, we have a booklet from our organization that tells you how to do it properly. And I think there's even a CD that has some of the chanting and the mantras and to help. But instead of just putting it on and listening, memorize it. It's much more powerful for your mind. And it talks about the names of all the Buddhas, just reciting them is really, really powerful. So again, we're kind of divided. We have big barriers in between us and the practice, because all the other things in my life are so much more delectable to do than, so that's where you can make a leap and really, and then what happens is it sets up more karmic seeds in your consciousness for future lives, that you want to do these practices. And so there's something, it's not like I'm a great practitioner, but somehow in my 20s, meeting the lamas and then deciding to let go of work for a year, it wasn't that I had a lot of money, but I somehow had this wish. I wanted to go back to India and Nepal, and I wanted to explore a retreat. And I wanted to take a year off and do that. So where does that come from? I was just born just like you guys, normal parents. They weren't even Buddhists. But there was something in me that, and then when I had a meeting with Lama Zopa Rinpoche right at the beginning of that year, right, I asked him about Nundro, about preliminary practices. I'd never done a Nundro. The word was foreign to me, but I heard other students talking about it at this retreat. We were doing a group retreat. I heard students say this and that, and I heard them talking. They were all working through their Nundro. And I was like, well, what's that? And then they started telling me, and I heard some stories. They're different experiences. They're all different variety of them. So, and then something again, another little thing went, bing. Then I had Rinpoche. I said, I think I want to start my Nundro. I didn't really even know what that meant, but I wanted to do those practices. So that had to come in from another life. Yeah. I was raised probably pretty much like you guys, very average, kind of wants, wishes, desires, all the things people want. So create that for yourself. Put that in your mind. See what you can push a little bit to try something. I know it's not easy in the beginning. I mean, it wasn't easy. This is not an easy path again. So I just wanted to say anything's possible if you put your mind to it and really dedicate. I'm going to ramp up my practice. I'm definitely going to do this. This is important. I want to do this course. I want to try this retreat. It will take effort on your part, whether you travel somewhere to do it, whether you need to raise the money to attend that retreat, or to buy the books, or to, So that's why centers like this are fantastic to help support you to do that and talk to you about how this, and here's a book for this, and here's this. It's really helpful. And Lama Tsongkhapa helps. And Lama Tsongkhapa, just to give you another little story of Lama Tsongkhapa, he helps with many, many things. Again, you say it's just a picture. He lived from 1347 to 1419. So, kind of contemporary, but again, a few centuries ago, but it wasn't like ancient. He's still, and founded Ganden Monastery. And we can read about his history, things like that. So, but you don't really have a context of who he was. And so you want to bring these people alive a little bit. So we could think of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, somebody we see, somebody you can live stream, watch the teachings. And, you think it's not, and they were from the same district. They were from Amdo, Eastern Tibet. Amdo, part of Tibet, Eastern Tibet, both from the same region, like that. So you kind of say, well, maybe it was somebody like His Holiness, like that. Pretty extraordinary. Just to give you kind of a context, that. So Lama Tsongkhapa, again, can help you with many great things. If that's what you're calling on, if you do some practices and you get used to, then you start asking him for help when something goes wrong. So a kind of a little bit amusing story, didn't start out very amusing, but I have a friend who went to Laudo, this very remote retreat center near Mount Everest, where Lama Zopa's region he's from, and his elderly sister is a nun who still lives there and runs the center. And she's extraordinary. So years and years ago, I had a friend who went up. She's a nun now. She's a really good nun. She was a lay person, young woman, went up to Lauda, wanted to do retreat. And she was doing this retreat, Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. And she was reciting the Miksema mantra we're going to recite tonight. And you do like 100,000 as one of our Nundro. This is one of our Nundro. Guru Yoga Nundro is this one. This entire practice. I did this retreat. I did this Nundro at Laudo as well. She went up there. I wasn't there at the time. She went up there, and people like to walk after lunch. If you're in strict retreat, you're doing your sessions, a couple sessions before lunch, then you have lunch, and then if you eat a lot at lunch, which is the main meal, you need a little rest, relaxation, or people want to walk. So she walked. There's places to walk. It's beautiful, but she went straight up the mountain. Not the best thing to walk. Anyway, she went straight up the mountain. She wanted to get a better view. You can't see Mount Everest from Lauda, but if you go further up, you can possibly see. So she went up the mountain in a sweater, right? It's cold at Laudo, but the afternoon was warmer. And she went up the mountain and she went up in something and there's ledges and she's, coming, and she was coming down and she somehow went down on one ledge and then got stuck on the ledge. And it was too far down to go to the next area and too far to go back up. And she got stuck. So she got stuck there. And then the sun set. And she didn't have a flashlight with her. And I don't think she had much water. And she didn't have any more layers to put on. And it gets very, very cold once the sun sets. So she's up there very, very far and very, very high. And you're in your own rooms at Laudo. So nobody really knew she was gone, right? But she was supposed to come for dinner. She didn't come for dinner a few hours later. And then Anila, Roche's sister, checks and just finally said, has anybody seen, this, I won't out her. Has anybody seen her, my friend? And and they said, check her room. And the lock was still in her room. So she had locked her room and she wasn't in her room. So then Anila really starts worrying. Okay, so now it's like she's out there, it's dark. It's not a good situation. So basically, and then what happened is so they're eating dinner right when this was happening, they're eating dinner and they hear a sound. They hear this. And so, and it doesn't like me mentioning this, but supposedly there can be Yetis up there. The local people have seen and heard, and Anila's told me what they sound like, and it's like a high-pitched sound. I've never seen when I've been up there many times. I don't worry about it. And Anila doesn't like you to think they're anywhere near Laudo. So they're very superstitious, the Sherpas. But she said one of the workers there came in to the kitchen and said to Anila in Sherpa, Yeti sound. He's hearing this high-pitched sound. There's a Yeti sound. And so then Anila said to me, no Yeti. It was, she names the friend of mine. It was her sound. It wasn't a Yeti. It was this person, So my friend was screaming from the mountain, like screaming for hours, just trying to get somebody's attention. and people were busy and doing things, and when you're inside the building, you couldn't hear. And so fortunately they heard her. But she also was screaming for Lama Tsongkhapa, she said, and it was so funny. And she said, I was screaming, you promised to help me. But I thought it was great because she really was calling on him. Like she really had faith that he was going to help her, and he did, but she really was talking to him. And I thought, better thing to reach for than just cursing people out and freaking out. And she said to me she was screaming for Lama Tsongkhapa. So they what they did is, and they didn't really have any ropes at Laudo at the time. It was really, really difficult. So, and just of course by chance, that day a trader had come into the Laudo yard. They have lots of cow. They had a lot of cows at the time and yak, and came into the yard to bring some things like rice and barley flour, and had animals, and the animals were all roped together. So they dismantled all the rope, and with lights and stuff and water, they took it up the mountain following the sound, and they started calling, and then they found her where she was, and then they made a harness with the rope. So they put the harness down, and she was so freaked out and had been hanging on the ledge to this tufts of grass for so many hours. It was freezing, so she couldn't hold the rope in her hand. So they had to make it like a harness, and then she put it around her. And then Anila said, and they pulled her up, and Anila said she didn't know if the knots were going to hold. Like they pulled her up, and had the knots broken, she just would have tumbled right down the mountain, probably died, that side of the mountain, get banged and stuff. So anyway, they pulled her up and they saved her, and she came in to the kitchen, and all is well because of Lama Tsongkhapa. So there you go. So he'll come through every time. Okay, let's go back to our practice. So think about refuge here, and we'll recite this prayer 3 times. I take refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. And one time in Tibetan, in the phonetics. O Sangye Chodan Zoki Chonamla Janchu Bardu Dani Kyab Suchi Dagi Chen Sogi Peso Namgi Drola Penchu Sangye Dru Harsho. Let's read one time through the 4 immeasurable thoughts, and they are immeasurable based on the countless beings you're sending these prayers to, and not creating any limit to immeasurable equanimity, happiness, compassion, and joy. So this is the longer version. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to abide in equanimity, free from the closeness of attachment and the distance of hatred. May they abide in equanimity. I myself will cause them to abide in equanimity. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. So when you have more time, it describes here doing Tonglen, each of these verses. Immeasurable love or happiness. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to achieve Buddhahood. May they achieve Buddhahood. I myself will cause them to achieve Buddhahood. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. So again, this is a version that Lama Zopa Rinpoche has created for us, adding this and all these preliminary prayers to the actual Ganda Na Gema. Okay, the actual practice that we're going to do. So again, instead of, normally it says, may they achieve happiness, but Rinpoche liked the idea, may they achieve Buddhahood, make it even richer, better. Immeasurable compassion. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they be free from suffering and its causes. I myself will cause them to be free from suffering and its causes. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. Immeasurable joy. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were never separated from the happiness of higher rebirth and liberation. May they never be separated from these. I myself will cause them never to be separated from these. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. So again, just considering if you are, let's just use those. Can you build the four immeasurables into your life, into your heart? There are shorter versions of them most of you are familiar with. For instance, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Okay. May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. Okay. So short versions in the prayer books. And so again, use it in everyday life. You're at a business meeting. It's not going well, right? Maybe you're at a conference table with several people. Maybe you're in a Zoom meeting with people. It's not going well. Instead of shutting down and getting tight and getting irritated, right? Or fighting over something. What if you're just listening to what someone's saying and that's what you're sending them? Measurable happiness or measurable love, immeasurable joy, or think of relieving their suffering, right? You walk by a street person, a homeless person. Maybe you don't want to give them anything. You're not sure what's going on, okay? You can just send loving kindness to them. You can just think in your mind, may you be free of suffering and all causes of suffering. May you have happiness and all the causes of happiness. You're in traffic. You're driving behind somebody that is doing 20 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone. There's a whole line of traffic behind them. Okay? Maybe they're an older person confused, struggling to see, right? And you have happiness and all the causes of happiness. Okay? I mean, you have ultimate happiness. Never be separated from that. Why not send that out? Why not create that in the world, planet? You read something in the news that's disturbing. Four measurables. It's fantastic. Kappa. And then this is the actual practice. 100 deities of Tushita. Gandan Lagema. Gandan Lagema. We can read together. From the heart of the Savior of the 100 deities of Tushita, on the peak of a cloud resembling a clump of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dharma, omniscient Losang Drakpa, please come here together with your sons. Losang Drakpa, again, is his ordained name. His two sons are his two disciples that I've described. These are just easy verses you just read. You just read them out loud. And it also talks in the book what you can visualize if you like. This is the 7-limb prayer. Okay, this one happens to start with remaining until the end of samsara. And it says, visualize numberless replicas of yourself offering the golden throne, jewels, so that you offer the throne to him so he has a place to sit. Okay, so it's just practical. Okay, so we can read, in the sky before me, on a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure guru smiles with delight. As a supreme field of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for hundreds of eons to spread the teachings. So you really want to understand, slowly you can read the 7 limbs and you can understand a little bit more from the simpler Guru Yoga, the Shakyamuni Buddha daily meditation practice I've also mentioned that sent out on the sheets that help you. And so thinking like, just think in general, practically, I need the teachers to stay. So you can just think that attitude in your mind. Please stay. We often, like if we're requesting a teaching and a teacher's here, people say, oh, please come back and teach again. It's really nice for the center to do that, to create the cause. Creates a cause for the teacher to come back, but in a little bit of an essence, you're saying, don't leave us. We need guidance. So stay. So you can just think, and what are you creating in your own life to create that experience that the teachers are always there to guide you? Next limb, prostration. Normally the 7 limbs starts like this. So that first limb, asking them to stay until the end of samsara, I mentioned last week, usually comes later. Doesn't really matter, but prostration. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ornament for the ears of those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renown. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. If you'd like, you just visualize yourself making long prostrations. Some people stop the practice if they want to work on a prostration nundro, as I mentioned last week, and get up and do a set of prostrations. Great. Offerings. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, light, scented water, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated, I offer to you the supreme field of merit. So again, if you want to do an extensive offering practice, great, creates prosperity for you, all the good fortune of the Dharma coming into your life, this life, future lives, visualize that. Confession, whatever non-virtues of body, speech, and mind I have collected from beginningless time, especially those opposite to the three vows, I confess each and every one of them from my heart with fervent regret. So having any type of sincere regret for something you may have done. Some people might stop and do some Vajrasattva practice at that point, like that, but at least having a moment of regret. Rejoicing. You strove to accomplish much hearing in this degenerate age and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful by abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. Savior, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Wonderful, easiest way to accumulate positive energies, rejoice. Be happy at somebody else's practices and good fortune. Here we're asking them now to turn the wheel of Dharma to teach. And it says you can visualize replicas of yourself like an Indian Brahmin. And you're offering a golden, in the form of Brahma, who's one of the gods for the Hindus, the god, the creator, a Dharma chakra, a golden wheel that represents to teach the Dharma. You can offer infinite ones, infinite visualizations of yourself doing that, or in that form of Brahma. Perfect, pure, holy gurus from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the earth of those to be subdued exactly as they need, and dedication. May whatever virtue I've collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and may it especially cause the essence of perfect, pure Losang Drakpa's teachings to shine forever. So this is my buoyancy for my mind. I just did the 7-limb prayer. I had refuge bodhicitta, the 7-limb prayer, Lama Tsongkhapa in front, mandal offering. So I want to, in my sense, symbolically offer something so I can have my mind blessed from doing the mantras accurately to having a good visualization and planting deep seeds of virtue for a good result. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon, I imagine as a Buddha land and offer it. May all transmigratory beings enjoy this pure land. Lama Zopa Rinpoche's added these verses, so let's read together. By the merits of offering this mandala to the merit field, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one, Losang Drakpa. So you see how it's taken out that first line there of the next paragraph, and we'll start with the second line, who lived an eminent life endowed with pure morality, a brave heart in doing the Bodhisattva's extensive deeds, and the yoga of the 2 stages, the supreme transcendental wisdom of non-dual bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kam Niratayami. Excuse me. So again, we're showing you the actual part of the text is where it says, may I and all sentient beings meet the teachings. But Lama Zopa Rinpoche likes to add, has embellished it to make it a little better for our minds. Okay? Rinpoche's done that with all of our different prayers to make it the most extensive, the most effective for us to get to freedom as quickly as possible. Okay? And here, the yoga, the 2 stages. If you're looking at Tantra, you've got a generation stage of Tantra, you have a completion stage of Tantra, and everything rooted in thinking about this non-dual bliss and emptiness. Okay, so very helpful to do practices with some reflection of any knowledge, any understanding you have of emptiness, that things lack inherent nature. You could just sit here in this room, in whatever room you're in right now, just for a moment, imagining it's like an illusion. There is no concrete, independent, permanent, existing from its own side experience to any of your reality, especially yourself. So this is where the practice comes from. It's where it comes from. So common meditations, visualize Lama Tsongkhapa. Okay, and it says who is Manjushri. So he's got a very special connection to the Buddha of infinite wisdom. Okay, Gyaltsab Je. Okay, that's one of the disciples, the older disciple, who is, they'd say, symbolic, an emanation of Chenrezig. Zig. Okay, Kedrub Je, the younger disciple, an emanation of Vajrapani. Excuse me. You often see those three deities together: Manjushri, Chenrezig, Buddha of infinite compassion, Vajrapani, Buddha of infinite power. He's a little bit of a wrathful one, fire around him like that. Dark blue in color, bulging belly, his arm. He's the holder of the Vajra, like that. Holder of the indestructible nature of your method of bodhicitta to get enlightened. He holds that, like that. Okay. So you imagine, but you've got Lama Tsongkhapa and the two disciples, but you want to, in part of your mind, think those three deities, inseparable. Makes it more stronger for your mind. Okay? And then again, focusing here, it says on Lama Tsongkhapa in particular, okay? And then it's very nice to become a guru yoga practice. It's important, as best as you can, I add, to maintain the awareness of your root guru. This is your root teacher. You may not have a root teacher. Maybe think of the Buddha. Think of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Think of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, some connection. So at least you can have some wish. I wish I had a root teacher like that. You have some other teachers. So again, that's the essence, is I want to have that guru inseparable from Lama Tsongkhapa, okay, who is in essence these three deities. He's all of those things. And you can even, as I mentioned before, you put the Buddha at his heart. You could put that primordial Buddha at his heart. Okay. So all of these deities, all together, one in Lama Tsongkhapa, like that. Wisdom, compassion, power. Power, and I'm talking about in an enlightened sense. That's who he is. That's the representation. Better for your mind to think that. What happens is the mind gets ordinary. And it's either just Lama Tsongkhapa, or I'm spaced out thinking about something else, thinking about something on my list that I have to do tomorrow, and then we recite the mantra. So a lot of people end up, and when you're in a longer retreat trying to recite mantras for a half an hour or something, it's hard to keep the mind focused. That's why we practice. Just bring the mind back. It's very common, you bring the mind back. Okay. So any idea you have about those deities, he's representative of that. Okay. Then we'll read together. This is purification. By the force of my having fervently requested in this way, from the hearts of the three, again, the three, the perfect, pure Father and Sons, hollow beams of white light are emitted and combining into one enter my crown. So what you can do is you can have Lama Tsongkhapa's disciples in front. You can bring them to your crown of your head, facing the same direction as you. But imagine them in the space in front. So Lama Tsongkhapa is on top. Out of his heart comes a white tube of light, two disciples, tube of light, and they join. Okay, that tube of light comes over to you and then flushing down all the negativities. Very powerful purification. A radiant waterfall washing out. Similar to Vajrasattva for some people, but here you've got, again, wisdom, compassion, power, all represented. Lama Tsongkhapa and the two disciples, inseparable from your guru. Like that. All one are the Buddha. It's all the same omniscient consciousness. Again, white nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing away all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and their imprints. Without exception, my body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. He's also an anti-insanity being, Lama Tsongkhapa. Clears away mental imbalances, mental illness. So it's really helpful if you have any little tendency of that. This is the one you want to reach for. Okay, so you got that light streaming down through your crown. Okay? And then here it goes into, you can, read about, concentrate on just the washing down of the light. Okay, but you can also do it with something called the seven wisdoms. Let me talk about the wisdom. And here it says concentrate mainly on purifying negative karmas collected from beginningless samsaric rebirths with your body, speech, and mind. So just in general, you're purifying. And in particular, the heaviest negative karmas collected in relation to the guru, such as having harmed the guru's holy body, disobeyed the guru's advice, disturbed the guru's holy mind, given rise to non-devotional thoughts about the guru, criticized the guru, broken and degenerated your samayas, your vows with the guru, your pledges with the guru. Okay, so that's one level of just, you can just stay, do the mantra over and over with that visualization, feeling that you're, and some people want to find a guru. Okay, so have that prayer in your heart. I want to wash away any obstacles that I can't, and I want to find this person in future lives early in life. And I want to find an authentic person, and I want to be able to devote to them in the best way. You can make prayers for that every day if you'd like. Okay. So that's when we recite this mantra, 5 lines we're going to do in a moment. And it says, continue to recite mixemas. The mantra is called the mixema mantra. And you can do it with the 7 wisdoms. So I'm going to describe that in a moment. But it says here, spend more time on purifying negative karma, the standard general dissolution, than on achieving the wisdoms. Okay, so if you're doing 1 mala, which is 1 turn of your rosary, okay, maybe you've got, 3/4 of it on the purification, and then 1/4, again, you try to do the wisdoms like that. And here it says if you do 3, do 2 of the cleansing and 1 for the 7 wisdoms. 7 wisdoms are great though. Okay, here's our mantra, but let me explain the 7 wisdoms. Let's do a little bit with just the standard general visualization, purifying. We're going to do, we'll do 1 in the English, and then we're going to do 1 in the Tibetan, and then you can choose. And so we'll do a little bit first just on our own. When you do recite in a group, air has to leave your mouth, so you do recite the mantra, but not too loud to disturb the people sitting near you. Try your best. And you can also recite, especially as you memorize the mantra, as it gets faster, you can do it any pace that you like. So if you're actually doing the Nundro, we want to get a lot of mantras done quickly. So you can stream through them pretty quickly but you do have to say them clearly. It's really important to get the syllables in the right place. Okay. Think about Lama Tsongkhapa and the tubes of light, the white light coming down through your crown. Think about the 3 levels of deity he represents, and the guru, all are one, helping to purify all your negative karma as we recite this mantra. It's a request, asking them for your help. Chenresig, great treasure of non-objectifying compassion. Manjushri, master of stainless wisdom. Lord of secrets, destroyer of the entire host of Maras. Tsongkhapa, crown ornament of the sages of the land of snow. Losangdrakpa, at your feet I make request. Lord of secrets is Vajrapani. Let's try some of the phonetics. Mime tsewe terchen chenrezi. Dreame kempe wampo jampel yang. Tupu malu jamze sangwe dak. Ganchen kepe tuken songkapa. Lozandra pe zavla sowa de. Please continue on your own at your own pace. See if I need to make it a little bigger. There we go. Me me te we te chen chen we te ne ke pe wa ba zhang pa liang. Tu pe ma le zhang si sang wei da ga zhe ge bei chu gen chong ka pa lo san jua bei sa la so wa. So I want to talk about the wisdoms, another visualization you can do, same mantras. So it's something that helps you to gain more wisdom in various ways. And again, seriously, in talking with Manjushri, if you choose to do a Manjushri retreat, it's a short practice with Manjushri's mantra. I'll talk about that in a moment, the mantra. It helps you gain wisdom. So these wisdoms help you gain wisdom. It helps you understand more about emptiness, helps you be able to understand books on emptiness that you're reading, or to want to read emptiness books and meditate on emptiness and study emptiness. And it really works as it cleans away and adds these wisdoms. So we start with great wisdom. And if you'd like, you can stop and read this section in your own practice. So let's read. Please bless me to achieve great wisdom, which is unimpeded in discerning the meanings of the infinite scriptures. And at this point, great wisdom flows down in the form of orange nectar. Your entire body is filled, and it's actually little Manjushris, little Buddhas of infinite wisdom. Here's the Buddha of infinite wisdom with the sword you can see on the screen. And it says this orange nectar, light rays comes down from the tube of light that's still coming down through your crown from Lama Tsongkhapa and his disciples. Okay, from the atoms of the nectar, and they're clarified, those atoms, into the form of tiny little, here it says perfect, pure Manjushris. Okay, so you want to visualize like sunbeams coming down. You know the little sunbeams, that like that tiny, 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 but infinite ones come down. The great wisdom of the victorious ones of the 10 directions and their sons absorbs into me in the form of the bodies of the deity, and my body's filled. And that's great wisdom. So what's nice with each wisdom, there's a couple sentences you read, please grant me this wisdom. So if you have time in your practice, some people don't have time to do the wisdom, so they're just doing the purification of the white light. But again, it's really nice to do a little bit of the wisdoms. Clear wisdom, number 2. Okay, let's read again. Please bless me to achieve clear wisdom, which clarifies the detailed, subtle, and difficult vital points without mixing them up. So each one gives you a distinction of what wisdom you're kind of gaining. And once again, the wisdom nectar flowing down from Lama Tsongkhapa and the disciple through that tube of light. Okay, orange nectar fills my body. Okay, and then light radiates out from the atoms of the nectar, and they're clarified, and this is Manjushri's mantra, Om Arapatsana. So it's actually Om Arapatsana D, but it has this form, and it shows you the Tibetan syllables of the mantra, Om Arapatsa, Om Arapatsana, Om Arapatsana. Okay, in the Tibetan, I'm not sure if it's missing a syllable. Om Arapatsana. And so you have like a little mantra strand, okay, but like sunbeams again, many mantra strands. And this is Manjushri's mantra, again, dissolving into your crown, filling your entire body. Okay, so it has clear wisdom, absorbs into me, fills my entire, in the form of the mantra. Many, many infinite mantras, dissolves into me, fills my body. Next one is quick wisdom. Okay, so now I'm going to have Manjushri's seed syllable D, D-H-I in English. So let's read together. Please bless me to achieve quick wisdom, which quickly cuts through non-understanding, misunderstanding, and doubt. So these are all the wrong views that we have, different wrong views you hold that interferes with our direct perception of emptiness. So again, it's all the same. The light nectar turns into orange nectar rays, fills my bodies, emanates out, and those atoms of the nectar are clarified in the form of Manjushri's seed syllable D. Here's the syllable D on the right of the screen. You can see it in English, so you can visualize either. Either you learn the syllable imprints in your mind, or you just visualize the D standing upright. But again, like sunbeams, infinite little Ds, many, many, many Ds coming into you, granting you quick wisdom. Next wisdom, profound wisdom. Please bless me. Let's read together. bless me to achieve profound wisdom, which is unfathomable in discerning the meanings of the scriptures. Okay, light nectar comes in, and this wisdom transforms into texts and swords. So here they are on the right of the screen. It happens to have it in that form, the text with the sword on top. You can just visualize infinite ones like little sunbeams coming in, texts and swords, filling your entire being. As you're reciting the mantra, you're visualizing as best as you can. Okay? Again, over and over and over doing it creates familiarity with the practice, like that. And that's why the Nundro is helpful, because if you're doing a lot, it becomes very familiar in your mind, very familiar in your mind. So these first 4 wisdoms, they say, are the most important of the 7 wisdoms to do. So if you don't have time again to do all of them, maybe you just rotate a little bit through the first 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's number 5, wisdom of explaining. Let's read together. Please bless me to achieve the wisdom of explaining, which gives supreme ascertainment regarding all words and their meanings. So if you want to become a teacher, right? If you are a teacher, if you aspire to that, teaching anything, right? Especially Dharma, you want to be clear what you're saying. It really helps to clarify so I can explain something thoroughly, like that. Sometimes it's difficult to explain something, clearly for people. So this comes out form of orange nectar, and then this is transformed into just the text. So now you're just singling out and you're imagining infinite numbers of texts coming into you. 6 wisdom is the wisdom of debating. Some people like to learn how to debate. Please bless me to achieve the wisdom of debating, which thoroughly deprives evil propounders of their self-confidence. Okay, so this is an interesting one in our country right now during divided times. So again, we're trying to hold people in our heart with compassion, but sometimes there's somebody even politically mouthing off about something you really disagree with, right? That if you have clarity on the wisdom of what's really accurate and can very effectively come up with your points and things, right? It kind of shuts down people that are things that can be helpful. The main thing is about the Dharma. But you know what you're talking about with the Dharma. So if somebody comes up with, I think the Buddha said this and it's not accurate, you have the clarity to know how to debate, to say the right thing. And that's clarified just as, and what it is it's sword wheels. So this isn't the way I've often seen it, this picture on the right. I'm not overly fond of that picture, but there's swords of wheels. So you have a wagon wheel, sword, sword, sword. That's the way I've seen it. Many swords. And that's what you're dissolving into you.
Like on the front of your thing?
That's probably a double dorje.
Double door, okay.
That's a sign of long life. So you always have them in front of thrones for teachers. That's something different.
Something different.
But the sword, so imagine if you've got sword, all making like a wagon wheel, like that. And I think if you want to visualize like this picture, I don't know who did the picture, but I've seen it in different ways. So that's what's dissolving into you. And then the last wisdom, the wisdom of composing. There's people that write commentaries that have incredible power to write clear commentaries. Lama Tsongkhapa was one of them. He has many, many commentaries on the Lam Rim. Thanks. So let's read together. Please bless me to achieve the wisdom of composing, which gives rise to a joyous, clear understanding of the excellent words and their meaning. And this is clarified as texts and the sword wheels. So all together, text and the sword wheels, not just the texts and the swords, because that was number 4. This is the text and the wheels of swords represent composing. So you can go through those wisdoms if you like while you're reciting the mantra. Now we come to a request. And once again, there's this one is 3 times you recite, and then two of them you recite 3 times. Okay. May my wisdoms of listening, reflecting, and meditating increase. May my wisdoms of explaining, debating, and composing develop. May I be granted the supreme and common realizations. Please bless me to quickly become like you. So you could read that 3 times. Let's go to the next one. May my transcendental wisdom of simultaneously born great bliss arise. May my stains of mistakenly grasping things as real be purified. May my net of doubts that is only mine be cut. Please bless me to quickly become like you. So very profound requests about wisdom, gaining wisdom, and clarifying the nature of the mind and the nature of reality, you would recite each one of those 3 times. You can recite them quickly as well. You don't have to do everything really, really slowly, but as long as your mind is focused on what you're saying. And then if you'd like at that part, stop and make any of your own personal requests. Can be very helpful, but mainly loftier requests that is more about your Dharma practice, something that is leading you to enlightenment to benefit all living beings. So just take a moment if you have any requests you'd like to make, just in your mind and your heart. And now we come to the foundation of all good qualities. This is a Lamrim prayer, okay? So we'll read to a section, and then what we're going to do is a short Lamrim meditation. It's beautiful if you could build that in, and then continue on whatever part you want to meditate on. You'd stop at that verse, do whatever time you have meditation for, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that, to really try to actualize that deeper, uncontrived realization, that juicy place where you can apply your shine and your kama body to that experience after your analysis, like that. So you need to obviously learn the Lamrim. There are some guides I put on that, the sheet about some practice guidance that I sent out that Don and Anthony can send out to you. And then you continue and read the rest of the prayer. So every day or whenever you do it, you get that Lamrim again imprinted a little bit more, and you'll recognize more and more of the topics we go through. The foundation of all good qualities is the kind and perfect Guru. Correctly following the Guru is the root of the path. By my clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon the Guru with great respect. So let's just pause. I'm going to bring in a Guru devotion meditation here. So there are a number of things you can meditate on regarding Guru devotion or properly serving the spiritual friend or the virtuous friend. And some main components we look at is when we're trying to see our Guru as the Buddha. And why we try to do that is extraordinarily uplifting for your mind. It clears away a lot of non-virtues you've created and creates a vast pool of merit. When you can really engage, find an authentic Guru and really engage with them in this way of seeing them as an enlightened being, following their advice. Okay. But let's just think about this. One of these main components as well as part of this. Some of the reasonings about this. How do we see the Guru as the Buddha? It's a very, very profound part of our philosophy. And it's very challenging for Westerners. So one of these points is, I'd really like you to imagine, so Shakyamuni Buddha is the third Buddha of this fortunate eon. That's what he's considered. The third Buddha of this fortunate eon. So there's many Buddhas, many different enlightened beings have come through space and time. Maybe we had the positive karma to meet their teachings, to follow some of the teachings, put them into practice. So the Buddhas are there just to benefit all living beings. That's the purpose of their being, of their lives, of every pore and cell in their body. That's all they want to do is bring you to freedom. You and every single living being in every world system. So imagine that. Imagine that space of who they are, what their purpose is. And think about our world system right now, planet Earth. As some of you may be familiar with what we call Buddha pure realms. Pure realms. Okay, they're not God realms. It's a type of like a Buddhist heaven. And you'd like to go to a pure realm. Okay, you go there as a human, you can go as a human. But the distinction between the pure realm and planet Earth is you have every perfect condition to practice Dharma in a pure realm. So it's been described to me by some of my lamas. One lama said, in a pure realm, if you want an apple, the apple appears perfect. If you want a cup of tea, perfect cup of tea appears immediately. But beings in the pure realm are not as concerned with things like that because their main focus is practicing Dharma, and they're at very high levels of realization about to get enlightened. Imagine that world in comparison to our world. So because there are all of these Buddhas that we might say may have existed, will come next, are existing now, just because Shakyamuni Buddha lived 2,600 years ago, and we don't actually see him, doesn't mean that he's not here right now, manifesting in some way. So imagine these Buddhas getting together, and whether they physically get together or their minds kind of get together to talk about how they're doing their work and what's the best way for them to do their work. And they're really happy to go to the pure realms to help the beings there because those beings are close to getting enlightened. So they'd like to just spend some effort, bless you, to help those beings get ultimately free. So imagine this kind of Buddha convention, right? And they all come together and meet. Who are they going to help? What's the best way for them to help? How are they going to divide up all these world systems? So focus on this, reflect on this, on what I'm saying, okay? And think about this. Nobody wanted us. Even though the Buddhas have infinite compassion, nobody was interested in us. They called us those most difficult to subdue. Isn't that us? Those most difficult to subdue. And they were kind of ignoring us. Not that they'd really fully ignore us because they have infinite compassion. They want us to be happy. But it's like Buddhists, sometimes I think enlightened beings' energy often is really lit up when they see somebody really practicing and having attainments, progressing along the path. A little bit more energy there. Think about it. Nobody wanted us. No one wanted us. And Shakyamuni Buddha stepped up and said, I'll take them. I'll go there. Can you feel that kindness in your heart? Where would we be without him coming to our world system? Think of that kindness, incredible sacrifice and kindness in our world system to go through all the lifetimes and endeavors he went through to get to become Buddha, to get there for us. Nobody wanted us, in a sense, abandoned. And he said, I'll go there. I'll help them. Incredible kindness. Can you feel it in your heart a bit? So place your concentration there as deeply as you can. Where would we be without the Buddha helping us, coming to our world system? Think of that kindness. Incredible. So the Guru is kinder than all of that. The Guru is kinder than all of that. Because we can't see Shakyamuni Buddha. So think of Lama Zopa Rinpoche manifesting in a certain way His Holiness the Dalai Lama, turning up as a Tibetan Buddhist monk, because that's what we can see and interact with. That's what our karma allows us to interact with. That's the kindness of the Guru. Okay, so let's just pause there for a moment. Anybody getting a little tasty? Anybody understand how to do this meditation? It's not easy. Difficult? Yeah. Anybody online? How are you doing online? Little taste? So this is not easy. Okay, you first have to read, and this is just one topic, Guru devotion. Lama Zopa Rinpoche prefers how to properly serve your virtuous friend, the Guru. That's the Guru. So you first want to read what are the main points, and then you have to go over and over and over and over again one point. Okay. Anytime it slips into a deeper place in your heart mind, then take your concentration, apply it, hold it there on that feeling. You know, how kind the Guru is in this sense. It's helpful if you have a root Guru who's highly realized, and then you can think of examples of things that he's done. Some of you have examples. Some of you have spent time around Lama Zopa Rinpoche. You've been to retreats with Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So maybe there was one little moment and Rinpoche passed by you and said whatever that one thing, gave you that one little gift, the little mala or the one thing, or asked one question about your child or your this, or one little thing that he noticed like that. Maybe you had a meeting with Rinpoche like that. I know some of you have met like that, met Rinpoche. So some little antidote or things you've watched, something that happened in the retreat, something you heard him say, how he delivers the teaching, that. And so you recall something personal, really goes far deeper. There's so incredibly kind. I mean, again, we can't see the Buddhas. So where will we be? Very little faith when you can't see. You know, we need proof, things like that. Okay. Any questions about that? And this is analytical meditation on the Lamrim. I know it is not easy. I happened to pick a really juicy topic, one of my favorites. I just thought we'll just launch there.
But what do you mean when you say nobody wanted us? Because I thought that we were fortunate enough that we had enough merit to be here, to be listening to the Dharma.
We do, but there wouldn't be any Dharma without him, without Shakyamuni Buddha.
Yeah,
So he said, okay.
but what do you mean nobody wanted us?
So like I was saying, and this is this is from the scriptures. This is from the Lamrim, detailed Lamrim teachings, that you have to think about all the Buddhas were going to get people that were about to get enlightened and help them get enlightened. Okay. So, and I'll reveal a little something here that I'm noticing going on for me in my life right now, having been teaching for many years, is you never lose the interest to help people. I don't. I really want to do that, and I never get tired of it. I never get tired of questions. You can ask me the same question over and over. I really don't get tired, and very happy to teach, like, because I so want people to be free. And I'm at a very low level. I'm not really any realizations or anything. But there's some students right now I've been with for many years, that have been coming to centers for years. They've been at retreats with me, group retreats with, meaning with other teachers, like with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, or sometimes they come to some of my retreats and things. And then some of them got practices from Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And they're doing the practices, and they came to me and asked, like, how do I unpack these practices? This is a lot. What do I do? How do I get started? Great. So I work with them. I help them. We talk online. We have a WhatsApp meeting. They discuss, and they're going for it. They're doing it. It's very impressive, And there's other students that have met with me, they got their practices, and they're really not doing it. It's just some life's got in the way and they're not able to do it. And I have compassion, I understand, because I'm pretty lazy myself. I get it. But I'm noticing that I get so much energy from the people that are doing it. It's like a zest. Like I get so excited. I'm like, great, you're on your way. You're great. You finished that, Nundro? Okay, what are you working on now? Great. Like, it's just interesting how, and I could see Rinpoche, even though equanimous mind, compassion for everyone, there's no question, but I could see his excitement at times when he'd hear about somebody doing this special practice or what they set up at the center and how they put the million lights in, and then he's building this grand stupa, and I could see that kind of thing. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about is the Buddhas were, going off to get the people that were about to get enlightened, and so we're not those people. Sorry. This is what, and so you read this in the scriptures, we are considered Zambuleng, that's our world system, those most difficult to subdue. Look at our world system. And I guess what I'm gauging it on, I've spent a lot of times in monasteries, nunneries, Bodh Gaya, India during the season, different centers around the world, some centers where one of the centers I was fortunately Dharma raised at in California that had so many senior students and stuff, just making time for retreats, longer retreats. They were doing Nundro, they were the sacrifices. So you go to these places and people are just practicing Dharma most of the time. Is that what's going on here in the United States? That's what I'm saying is, so in a sense, like what I find going on in the States, honestly, it's pretty barbaric, the States. I'm fortunate where I can live in other countries, but it's a little bit intense here, to be honest. Am I speaking out of the, does anybody know what I'm talking about? Or so and one Lama asked, and we were talking about precious human rebirth. It's the beginning of the Lama and precious human rebirth. You've got 8 freedoms, 10 richnesses. Most of you are familiar with that. 8 freedoms and 10 richnesses make up your life that make up a precious human rebirth. And I was talking with one of my lamas years ago. He passed away since, and I said, one of them is you're free from being in a barbaric society. That's one of them. So part of it means, and they also call it different things, you live in a central realm, a central land. What that means is you can practice Dharma. We have that. We have freedom. Practice any religion you want. So, in Saudi Arabia, my understanding, we had a woman come from Saudi Arabia to one of our retreats, and she couldn't get Dharma materials mailed to her in clear, right? It had to be like hidden in a brown paper. It's illegal, she said there. Couldn't, someplace you can't practice Dharma like that. Afghanistan, it's not really free to practice Dharma. Okay. So when they say you live in a central land, it's one that can practice Dharma, but you're also, one of the freedoms is, because an endowment is you live in a central land, But one of the freedoms is you're free from being in a barbaric society. And I said to the Lama at one point, I don't really think we got that, you know. And he said, yeah, you're right. He said, you don't really have that in the United States. And that was a long time ago. So that's what I'm talking about, is that's the way we're viewed. And we're viewed that way by some of the Tibetan masters that come to our country. I remember some of the lamas when they first came, they were terrified. They heard about us. And you know, so granted, we have some beautiful things in our culture. I'm not totally done. Beautiful things. We have some wonderful things. But it's very different than when you're living in a monastery or nunnery or living at a Buddhist center all the time. It's quite different when you get out there in the world and you see that people lie, they cheat people, they misrepresent, they deceive people, they steal things, they engage in adultery. And I'm not saying the monasteries and nunneries are perfect. They're not. You know, as long as they have human beings there, they suffer from delusion. But you generally have a somewhat, and it's really beautiful at our centers, because most of the centers where I teach, there is a basis of good morality. Good morality. You know, generally you don't have people stealing there. They're very careful about, they try not to lie. They try to help each other. That's beautiful. And that's what's so great about our centers. They're these little beacons in the middle. So does that make sense? I don't know if that's helpful. Yeah, it's something to think about to relate. Okay, I want to go back and read the rest of the prayer before we're out of time. Let's read and just reflect on those Lamrim topics. When I have discovered that the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once, is extremely difficult to find again, and is greatly meaningful, please bless me to unceasingly generate the mind, taking its essence day and night. This body and life are changing like a water bubble. Remember how quickly they perish and death comes. After death, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of black and white karma follow. When I have found definite conviction in this, please bless me always to be conscientious in abandoning even the slightest collection of shortcomings and in accomplishing all virtuous deeds. When I have recognized the shortcomings of samsaric perfections, there is no satisfaction in enjoying them. They are the door to all suffering, and they cannot be trusted. Please bless me to generate a strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Through my being led by this pure thought with great remembrance, alertness, and conscientiousness, please bless me to make keeping the individual liberation vows the root of the teachings my essential practice. Just as I have fallen into the sea of samsara, so have all mother migratory beings. By my seeing this, please bless me to train in supreme bodhicitta, which bears the responsibility of freeing transmigratory beings. Even if I develop only bodhicitta without familiarizing myself with the three types of morality, I cannot achieve enlightenment. By my seeing this well, please bless me to keep the vows of the sons of the victorious ones with fervent effort. By my having pacified distractions to wrong objects and correctly analyzed the meaning of reality, please bless me to quickly generate within my mind stream the unified path of calm abiding and special insight. When I have become a suitable vessel by training in the common path, please bless me to immediately enter the holy gateway of the fortunate beings, the supreme of all vehicles, the Vajrayana. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the two attainments is keeping my vows and samayas purely. When I have gained effortless conviction in this, please bless me to protect them even at the cost of my life. Then, when I have realized exactly the vital points of the two stages, the essence of the tantric sets, and am enjoying the yoga of 4 sessions with effort without being distracted by non-meditation objects, please bless me to accomplish these according to the teachings of the holy beings. Thus may the virtuous friends who reveal the noble path and the spiritual practitioners who correctly accomplish it have long lives. Please bless me to pacify completely the collections of outer and inner obstacles. In all my lives never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma, and by completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. And these very powerful paragraphs, magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon of my heart, Guide me with your great kindness and grant me the realizations of your holy body, speech, and mind. Magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon of my heart. Guide me with your great kindness and grant me the supreme and common realizations. Magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon of my heart. Guide me with your great kindness and remain steadfast until I attain the essence of enlightenment. So we're going to visualize Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 disciples in the space in front, dissolve along with their thrones. And so both the disciples dissolve into Lama Tsongkhapa's heart, and then Lama Tsongkhapa from the edges of the visualization dissolve into the center and melts into a radiant golden drop of light. And imagine that melting into your forehead and feel the blessings. The blessings from Lama Tsongkhapa completely blessing your body, speech, and mind. And just let go. Just relax and let go. And if you notice any concreteness coming up, concrete I arising, a sense of yourself, that does not exist at all. It's a complete hallucination. There's no inherently existent I there at all. You arise in dependence on your body and mind. That is conventionally there, but nothing inherently existing at all. So I know we're a little out of time, dedication prayers. So if you've had highest yoga tantra empowerment, anybody here have? Okay, just check. Anybody online have? Okay, yeah, we've got a few people. It's a slightly different visualization, so I'll have to give that to you later. It's a whole other thing, and you can really, what's nice is we will do this next week. We're going to go a little more quickly now that we've done the 7 wisdoms. We're going to recite a little bit more mantras. What I want to do is when we dissolve, okay, a little bit meditation on the nature of the mind. Okay, it's beautiful. You stay there. It's really very, very powerful practice to do. And that's your Guru Yoga practice. And then from that, you can build in other practices, or you just do the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, finish, do however many mantras you want to do each day. If you're doing the Nundro, you need to do at least 1 mala every day. So if you do 100, 1 mala every day, after 3 years, that's 100,000. Okay, so you just break it down like that. You know, think about 3 years ago where you were. You could have had this Nundro done. Really, I do 100 a day. Okay, I already did the Nundro full time, right? Took about 5 or 6 weeks full time like that. But I just like to do 100 a day. So every 3 years, you know, like that. You can keep track of what you do, right? You can put it in your computer, keep track of your initiations and things like that. It's helpful, and you can remember. Let's do our dedication prayers. Bless you. So whatever merit we have created, all this positive energy, and then again, when you finish the Lama Tsongkhapa practice, let's say you don't have time to do the wisdoms, okay? Just do the general, quick visualization, recite as many mantras as you can, okay? And if you don't have time to do the Lam Rinpoche, and everybody's leaving out the Lam Rim meditation, it's really important. Try to do it in an abbreviated way, right? Or at least, you know, every other time you do it, try to build that in until you get better at the practice. And then you go on, you can do other practices you have, like that. Or you want to start with some Shine first before you get into reciting the prayers, then sit and work on some concentration quietly. Perfect. Then you could do Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. For those of you that have 6-session Guru Yoga, you do the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga first, right? And then do the 6-session after that. So whatever merit we've created, whatever positive energy, I really hope it will inspire your practices, okay? To deepen your practices, to try to get on the cushion more and really do some of these things, try for yourself, so that you can really progress along this path of full awakening to benefit all living beings, like to dedicate to all the wars on the planet to be ended instantly, fully, for all the beings who are suffering, may they be released from their suffering immediately, completely, for the long lives of all of our precious teachers and the great flourishing of all of our centers, especially Thubten Kunga Center. By the force of the victorious one Tsongkhapa, acting as my direct Mahayana virtuous friend in all my lives, and never turn away for even a second from the pure path highly admired by the victorious ones. May I be able to live a life of pure morality, listen to many teachings, train in bodhicitta, and have pure view and conduct without corrupting the teachings of Losang Drakpa, the second victorious one. Glorious Guru, whatever your holy body, retinue, lifespan, and realm, whatever your supreme and beneficial holy name, may I and others become exactly like that. Due to the 3-time merits collected by me, the numberless Buddhas, and the numberless sentient beings, may I, my family members, all those sentient beings who rely upon me, all those whom I promise to pray, all those whose names have been given to me, all the students, benefactors, and volunteers in the FPMT organization, and all other sentient beings be able to meet perfectly qualified Mahayana virtuous friends in all our future lives. From our side, may we always see them as enlightened. May we always do only actions most pleasing to their holy minds. And may we always fulfill their holy wishes instantly. And then you can go on and recite more. We're going to recite this prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And one last prayer for Lama Zopa Rinpoche's return. So this is a prayer written by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Stravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make requests. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings you suddenly departed to peace, what a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Everyone doing okay?
Yeah.
Is there any burning question? Maybe one question about what we've been doing?
Primordial Buddha is, what's that mean?
Primordial Buddha is kind of like the one that all the Buddhas come from, kind of essential kind of thing like that. Sometimes we think of Vajradhara as that one that encompasses everything, kind of sometimes like that. Yeah. Okay, so if you can, continue to try to do the practice, you know, a few times this week, if you can do every day, and you can do it more quickly and just get a little bit used to the verses. It's basically a 7-limb prayer, and get used to see if you can learn the mantra, and maybe you can learn it in the Tibetan phonetics as well, but you can do it in either English or not, and get familiar with the just the tube of white light coming down, or maybe explore the wisdoms like that. Try your best.
Hmm,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you.
think this week we've got
Tomorrow.
today's Monday. Tomorrow's a big holiday, as you know. Tomorrow's La Bob Duchen, the Buddhist descent from heaven. He went up to teach his mother, and then everybody begged him to come back. And this is our 4th major festival day of the year, the last one of our Tibetan calendar. We have Lama Tsongkhapa Day in December, but this is our last full festival day. So I am leading precepts at 6 o'clock in the morning online. Thubten Kunga Center has the link. And I'm going to show a little clip of Rinpoche, but I'm probably just going to show the text and we can read together. I think it'll be a little easier. And then we have tomorrow night, we'll be here and we'll be doing an hour and a half of practice, Shakyamuni Buddha practice and some other practices like that. If you can join online, you can join in person. It's a great day to make offerings to the center, helping people do your practices, practicing virtue. It's a great day to do that. Hope you can join.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.